Let's get one thing straight. The real threat isn't the person who glares at you from across the room. It's the one who smiles sweetly, laughs at your jokes, and maybe even brings you coffee, all while secretly wishing you were gone for. Good sounds dramatic? Maybe, but the truth is often stranger and far scarier than fiction. Right now, someone in your life could be plotting your downfall, and you'd never suspect a thing until it's too late. Hatred is easy to spot, but murderous intent wears a mask. A polite, charming, Instagram-filtered mask. The scariest part, most people miss the signs until they're already deep in the damage zone. This video isn't about fear, it's about survival. What you're about to learn are 5 chilling, often overlooked signs that someone doesn't just dislike you. They want you gone permanently. These aren't hunches or conspiracy theories. They're real behaviors backed by psychological patterns. Recognizing them could save your life or someone else's. So before we dive into the dark stuff, do yourself a favor. Hit that subscribe button, because after this, you'll never look at friendly the same way again. Ready? Let's begin. Sign 1, the silent observer. Let's start with one of the most chilling and dangerously overlooked signs that someone in your life may not just hate you, but wants you gone. I call it the silent observer. This isn't just a passive social media lurker or the neighborhood gossip with too much time on their hands. No, this is something far more deliberate, calculated, and sinister. These people don't just watch you, they study you. They memorize your schedule, analyze your routines, and collect information with a kind of precision that feels more like military reconnaissance than casual curiosity. And they do it so subtly, so quietly, that most people don't even notice until it's too late. Think about this. Someone knows your coffee order, even though you've never had a conversation about it. They appear at your local park, your gym, your grocery store, but always at the same time as you. It feels coincidental until it doesn't. What makes this especially dangerous is that it often goes unnoticed because we've been trained to dismiss subtle patterns as paranoia, but predators rely on that hesitation. They weaponize your self-doubt. I once heard of a woman named Christine, a mid-level manager who dismissed the odd timing of her ex-boyfriend's presence at her usual haunts. They had broken up months before. She thought maybe he was just struggling to move on, but as time passed, she noticed he wasn't just around. He knew where she'd be before she got there. She changed gyms, took a new route to work, even started using different grocery stores. But every time he reappeared, no confrontation, no threats, just quiet, consistent surveillance. Her friends brushed it off as obsession, but what they missed, and what she finally realized, was that it wasn't obsession, it was premeditation. This kind of behavior isn't about reconciliation or closure. It's about control. It's about eliminating uncertainty before making a move. Philosophers like Epictetus often warned against assuming appearances are harmless. He taught that the wise person is not merely watchful of others, but vigilant about their own sense of peace and order. When something disrupts that order, especially in the form of a person who seems to know too much or appears too often without reason, it's time to investigate, not excuse. We live in a hyper-connected world where surveillance doesn't require a van parked outside your home. It requires access through social media, mutual friends, routines, and habits we don't guard closely enough. And the most dangerous people are not the ones who lash out publicly, but those who smile politely while cataloging your every move. This is not about fear, it's about discernment. The Stoics taught that wisdom begins with clear observation and ends with decisive action. If someone repeatedly appears in your life without a clear reason, especially when you've made no effort to invite them in, that's not fate. It's a red flag. Pay attention to those patterns, question the coincidences, and above all, listen to your instincts. Your discomfort isn't overthinking, it's insight. When your soul feels unsettled, don't second-guess it, honor it. Because sometimes the scariest people aren't the ones who threaten you directly. They're the ones who study you in silence, waiting for the moment you're not paying attention. Sign 2. The Saboteur Strategy. Here's a disturbing fact. Studies in social psychology have shown that when a person hears a lie about someone, even if it's later proven false, their perception of that person is still negatively affected. That's how powerful suggestion is, and that's exactly what makes the saboteur strategy so dangerous. When someone wants more than just revenge, when they're not content with you simply being hurt, but want you isolated, they begin to wage war not just against you, but against your entire support system. This isn't petty gossip. It's a quiet campaign of character assassination, orchestrated with such subtlety that by the time you realize what's happening, the damage is already done. They move like shadows, whispering just the right things in just the right ears. To your boss, they hint that you're unreliable. To your friends, they imply you've changed or become toxic. They never make a full accusation. That would be too obvious. Instead, they plant seeds of suspicion, doubt, and misunderstanding. And because each incident seems isolated and each situation unrelated, no one sees the bigger picture. Not even you. You may start questioning your own stability. Why does everything seem to be falling apart at once? That is the essence of this strategy: calculated fragmentation. These individuals don't act on impulse. They act with intent. They engineer conflicts that make you look unstable. They pull strings behind the scenes to discredit you in both professional and personal spaces. They pose as victims, or worse, as concerned allies, while they quietly dismantle the trust others have in you. Their goal isn't just to harm your reputation, it's to cut you off from your lifelines, so that when they strike hardest, you're standing alone. From a Stoic lens, this tactic is especially insidious because it attacks the very foundation that Stoicism teaches us to protect: our inner strength, supported by rational clarity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." But when a saboteur is at work, the obstacle isn't a challenge to grow from. It's a toxic fog that clouds your path. And if you're not careful, you start reacting instead of reflecting. You get pulled into the drama, trying to prove your innocence, explain your actions, or clear your name, only to find that the more you speak, the more suspicious you seem. That's why awareness is your first defense. Don't chase every rumor. Anchor yourself in evidence. Preserve your integrity, but protect yourself strategically. Document everything: emails, messages, timelines. Keep your truth sharp and your circle intentional. Most importantly, remember what both the Stoics and Scripture affirm: character is revealed over time, not in moments of chaos. People may be swayed for a while, but the truth, like the soul, has a way of enduring. So when someone moves like a phantom behind your conflicts, always near but never named, it's time to stop giving them the benefit of the doubt. You're not just facing a manipulator, you're confronting a strategist of destruction. And the first step to winning that battle is refusing to play their game. Sign 3. The false friend facade. Here's where things get especially dark. The third, and perhaps most deceptive, sign that someone doesn't just hate you, but may be quietly planning your downfall, is the false friend facade. It's one of the oldest tactics in human history, and still one of the hardest to see coming. We've been conditioned to believe that kindness is always a virtue, that warmth and closeness are signs of loyalty. But when someone suddenly pivots from distant acquaintance to deeply invested friend, especially without any clear reason or emotional history, it's time to pay attention, not celebrate. These individuals aren't trying to earn your trust, they're building access. What seems like concern is often a calculated performance. They begin asking detailed questions about your schedule, your relationships, your fears, even your past traumas. But they don't want to help you heal. They're gathering intelligence. They grow close to your family, start hanging around your workplace, maybe even help with errands or personal matters. Their goal isn't support, it's surveillance. And every secret you share becomes another tool in their toolbox, another piece of leverage, another vulnerability to exploit. What makes this so sinister is that it feels good at first. You're finally being seen. Someone wants to listen, to understand, to help. But behind that comforting presence is a cold, strategic mind, mapping your world with the precision of a surgeon. They're not building a friendship. They're designing the most efficient route to access every soft spot in your life. From a Stoic perspective, this is especially chilling. Seneca warned, "A friend is someone you trust with your soul." But he also cautioned that trust must be earned, not given freely to anyone who smiles and listens. The Stoics taught that discernment, sophron, or wise moderation, was the key to emotional safety. If someone rushes into your life, if their interest feels too intense, too sudden, or too personal, you must pause and ask, what do they really want? It's easy to mistake familiarity for friendship, but predators know that too. They'll mirror your language, echo your emotions, even share vulnerable stories of their own, just enough to lower your defenses. Meanwhile, they're filing away your information like a spy, building a target profile. And because they're wrapped in charm and empathy, no one around you suspects a thing, not even you, until it's too late. So here's what to do. Slow the relationship down. Guard your privacy like your peace depends on it, because it does. Ask yourself why someone suddenly wants access to parts of your life they've never cared about before. True friendship grows gradually, but sabotage hides in speed. Trust isn't just about who makes you feel safe. It's about who keeps you safe when your back is turned. The false friend doesn't just want your loyalty, they want your weaknesses. And the moment they collect enough, they'll know exactly where to strike. So yes, be kind, be warm, but be wise, because when evil wears a friendly face, it's not connection, it's camouflage. Sign 4, Escalating Aggression. The fourth deadly sign, and one of the most horrifyingly overlooked, is something I call calculated escalation. When someone harbors intentions that go beyond hatred, they rarely begin with outright violence. Instead, they test the waters, gradually conditioning you to tolerate behavior that grows darker and more threatening over time. It often starts with subtle aggression, offhand jokes that carry disturbing undertones. Comments like, "I could kill you right now," followed by a laugh, or casual mentions of violence meant to seem humorous or edgy. But make no mistake, these aren't just tasteless remarks, they're deliberate probes designed to measure your fear and your boundaries. Let me tell you about a case that still sends chills through seasoned investigators. In 2016, a young woman named Leah moved into a new apartment complex after starting her first job out of college. There, she met Adam, a neighbor who seemed awkward but friendly enough. Over time, Adam began hanging around more often, offering help with groceries, joining her on elevator rides, and asking oddly specific questions about her routines. Then one day, at a small building cookout, he made a comment that seemed bizarre but not threatening. He joked that he'd make a perfect killer because he knew how to get rid of evidence. Everyone laughed. Leah, a bit unsettled, shrugged it off, but things began to shift. Adam started getting physically closer, too close. He'd appear in hallways at the exact time she left for work, brushing past her shoulder with no apology. He once blocked her apartment door under the pretense of needing to talk. Then came the incident that changed everything. One evening, Leah found a hunting knife laid neatly on her doormat. No note, no explanation, just the weapon. When she reported it, authorities initially dismissed it as a prank. But Leah didn't. She installed a camera outside her door, changed her locks, and began documenting every interaction. Within a month, footage revealed Adam trying to pick her lock at 2 a.m., wearing gloves and holding what looked like a black duffel bag. He was arrested, and it was later discovered that he had a detailed journal mapping Leah's movements, favorite places, and a timeline labeled execution window. This is the terrifying truth. Violent individuals often begin with seemingly harmless behavior to desensitize you. What looks like a joke or an accidental shove is often part of a larger psychological script. The Stoics warned that we must train our minds to anticipate evil, not out of fear, but out of awareness. Seneca said, "He who is forewarned is forearmed." So if someone in your life regularly crosses the line and laughs it off, pay attention. If their jokes are laced with threats, if they increasingly test your physical space, or if they seem to be studying your reactions instead of connecting with you, that is not a personality quirk. That is a red flag. And ignoring it could cost you more than peace of mind. It could cost you your life. Sign 5, the patient predator. Now we arrive at the 5th, and without question, the most dangerous sign that someone may want you dead, the patient predator. This isn't the person who lashes out in anger, leaves obvious threats, or behaves erratically. No, this is the coldest kind of enemy, the one who hides behind time. Their strength isn't violence, it's patience. These individuals don't seek quick revenge or heated confrontation. They play what Stoic philosophers would call the long game, where every move is calculated, rehearsed, and timed with chilling precision. They can wait months, even years, for the perfect moment, and by then most people have already let their guard down completely. What makes them terrifying isn't what they do, it's how normal they seem. They don't raise alarms, they raise trust. They ask about your future plans, not out of care but out of strategy. They want to know when you'll be out of town, when you're moving, when you'll be alone. Every conversation is data collection. Every favor they offer, every bond they build, it's all part of creating a false sense of security. They might be your dependable co-worker, your kind neighbor who waters your plants, or the friend who remembers your birthday better than your own family. But beneath that calm, consistent exterior is a person rehearsing the perfect betrayal. The Stoics, especially Epictetus, warned that our greatest threat isn't what we see, but what we overlook. First, say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do, he wrote. But when you're dealing with someone who wears a perfect mask, what you see is crafted to deceive. Their life is a performance. Their kindness is bait. The scariest part. These people rarely make mistakes. They wait for yours, for the one moment when your routine breaks, when your support system thins, when your defenses drop. That's when they strike. And because you trusted them, you never saw it coming. So what can you do? Be slow to hand out deep trust, especially to those who accelerate closeness without reason. Guard your plans. Keep your boundaries sacred. You can still be kind, but don't confuse kindness with blind access. The Stoic in you must stay awake, even when nothing seems wrong, especially when nothing seems wrong. And now, let's be brutally honest. If any of these 5 signs made someone come to mind, don't brush it off. Don't convince yourself you're overreacting. Because if you've seen the silent observer, the saboteur, the false friend, the escalating aggressor, or the patient predator in your life, you're not just dealing with negativity. You may be standing in the crosshairs of something much darker. So before this video ends, do 2 things. Save it, because you may need to revisit these signs when your instincts start whispering again. And second, watch the next video on spotting covert narcissists, because these 5 deadly tactics often walk hand in hand with deeply manipulative personalities. Remember, knowledge is your first shield, but action is what keeps you alive. Stay sharp, stay guarded. And above all else, stay alive. Let's be real. If your gut's been whispering something's not right, this video probably just handed you the confirmation you didn't want, but seriously needed. These 5 signs aren't about drama. They're about survival. Because someone who just hates you will roll their eyes, but someone who wants you gone, they study, sabotage, smile, escalate, and wait. That's not petty. That's predatory. So if one particular nice person suddenly popped into your mind while watching this, don't ignore it. Your instincts exist for a reason. As the old saying goes, the devil doesn't come dressed in horns, he comes wrapped in everything you ever wanted to trust. If this hit a little too close to home, do 2 things right now. Subscribe to this channel so you're always one step ahead of the game. And share this video with someone who might be in the dark. Because knowledge is your first line of defense, but sharing it, that might save someone else's life too. Stay sharp, stay safe. And remember, it's not paranoia if they're actually planning your downfall. Trust wisely, and I'll see you in the next one.